On the Pleasures of No Longer Being Very Young by G. K. Chesterton continued. For instance, we have just seen a staggering turn of the wheel of fortune. Staggering is to astound or overwhelm as with shock. We have just seen a staggering turn of the wheel of fortune, which has brought all the modern material pride. Material pride is physical concerns rather than spiritual. Pride is excessive self-esteem, a feeling of honor and self-respect, a sense of personal worth. Material pride and prosperity to a standstill. Standstill is a complete cessation of movement, halt. America, which a year or two ago seemed to have become one vast Eldorado studded with cities of gold, is almost as much embarrassed as England and really much more embarrassed than Ireland. A staggering turn of the wheel of fortune which has brought all the modern material pride and prosperity to a standstill. Chesterton refers to the Great Economic Depression, which gripped the Western world in the 20s and 30s of the present century, that is, 20th century. Chesterton's essay was written during the above period. A year or two ago, the reference is to the slump of 1931. El Dorado is a Spanish phrase meaning land of gold, a Spanish word implying a fictitious region rich in gold. Fictitious is not genuine or authentic. Studded is thickly set or strewn with. To strew is to spread or scatter over a surface or area. Embraced to cause to feel confusion or self-consciousness, or rather to involve in financial difficulties. Ireland is perhaps the poorest country in Europe. The industrial countries are actually finding it difficult to be industrial. Industrial of or relating or to or derived from industry. While the old agricultural countries still find it possible to be industrious. Industrious is hardworking, diligent, assiduous. Now, I do not pretend to have prophesied or expected this. For a man may cheerfully call a thing rotten without really expecting it to rot. Pretend is to claim, especially a false one, to a right or distinction, to make believe. Now I do not pretend to have prophesied or expected this. Prophesied is to foretell something by or as if by divine inspiration. For a man may cheerfully call a thing rotten without really expecting it to rot. Cheerfully having a happy disposition, in good spirits. Rotten is decomposing, decaying, or morally corrupt. To rot is to decay and crumble. But neither, certainly, without doubt, by all means, definitely, did the young, the progressive, the prosperous, or the adventurous expect it. The prosperous are flourishing wealthy, adventurous are a hazardous financial operation to take a risk or put at risk, an exciting or unexpected course of events. Yet all history and culture is stiff with proverbs and prophecies telling them to expect it. Stiff is rigid, inflexible, severe or harsh, so difficult to accept. The trouble is that they thought the proverbs and history a great deal too stiff. Again and again, with monotonous reiteration, both my young friends and myself had been told from childhood that fortune is fickle, that riches take themselves to wings and fly, that power can depart suddenly from the powerful, that pride goes before the fall, and insolence attracts the thunderbolt of the gods. Monotonous is tedious because of repetition. Reiteration is to say or do again or repeatedly. Fickle is changeable in purpose, affections, etc. Riches, wealth, and abundance of money, valuable possessions, or property. Depart is to leave or quit. Pride is feeling of honor and self-respect. Self-esteem, conceit. Fall is to diminish in status, decline in status or importance. Insolence is offensive, impudent, or disrespectful. Thunderbolt in mythology, the destructive weapon wielded by several gods, especially the Greek god Zeus. Right from childhood, we are told that fortune is changeable. Riches take themselves to wings and fly. Power can depart suddenly from the powerful, and pride goes before a fall, and insolence attracts the thunderbolt of the gods. But it was all unmeaning to us, and all the proverbs seemed stiff and stale. Stale is uninteresting from overuse, like dusty labels on neglected antiquities. Neglected is to fail to give due care and attention and time to something. Antiquities are remains or relics, such as statues, buildings, or coins that date from ancient times. We had heard of the fall of Wolsey. Wolsey is Cardinal Wolsey, Lord Chancellor of England during the reign of Henry VIII. Though very low born, he rose to the highest offices, religious and political, but had also a sudden and staggering downfall, which was like the crash of a huge palace. Crash is to collapse or fall suddenly. Still faintly rumbling through the ages. Faintly is indistinct, lacking clarity. Rumbling is a widespread murmur of discontent. Through the ages, a relatively long time, the ages. We had heard of the fall of Wolsey, which was like the crash of a huge palace still faintly rumbling through the ages. Crash is to make a loud noise as of solid objects smashing or clattering. To fall or cause to fall with force, breaking in pieces with a loud noise. We had read of it in the words of Shakespeare. In Act Third, Scene Second of Henry VIII, Wolsey himself proclaims that when a great man falls, he falls like Lucifer, never to hope again. So Shakespeare in Henry VIII has said that when a man falls, he falls like Lucifer, who never can hope to rise again. Lucifer is Satan, the rebel archangel before his fall, which possibly were not written by Shakespeare. It is believed that parts of Henry VIII were written by Fletcher and other dramatists of the time. In Henry VIII, Act 3, Scene 2, Shakespeare says, Cromwell, I charge thee, fling away ambition. It is thought that someone else, possibly Fletcher, wrote a good deal of the play. We had learned them and learned nothing from them. We had read 10,000 times to the point of tedium. Tedium is the state of being bored or the quality of being boring, monotony. We had read 10,000 times to the point of tedium of the difference between the Napoleon of Marengo and the Napoleon of Moscow. Napoleon Bonaparte, who lived from 1769 to 1821, was Emperor of France. He was defeated at Waterloo, and he spent the rest of his life in the island of St. Helena, almost as a prisoner. Marengo is Napoleon's victory in North Italy in 1800. 12 years after the victory at Marengo, Napoleon attacked Russia and penetrated as far as Moscow. Ultimately, under pressure of lack of food and the severe Russian winter, he retreated, losing nearly 500,000 soldiers. But we should never have expected Moscow if we had been looking at Marengo. We knew that Charles V resigned his crown, or that Charles I lost his head. Charles V, who lived from 1500 to 1558, was Emperor of Germany from 1519 to 56, and as Charles I, King of Spain from 1516 to 56, was one of the greatest rulers of Europe. His empire comprised Spain, Austria, the Netherlands, and the Holy Roman Empire. He abdicated in favor of his brother. Abdicate is to renounce a throne, especially formally. When the Emperor of Holy Roman Empire, Charles V, resigned the crown in favor of his brother. He was one of the greatest rulers of Europe. He was the father of Philip II of Spain. Charles the First lived from 1600 to 1649. 1600 to 1649 was King of England, against whom there was a revolt under the leadership of Cromwell. Charles was tried and beheaded. We knew that Charles the Fifth resigned his crown, or that Charles the First lost his head. And we should have duly remarked sic transit gloria mundi after the incident, but not before it. Duly is in proper manner at the proper time. Duly. Sic transit gloria mundi is a Latin phrase meaning thus passes away earthly glory. Thus passes away earthly glory. After the event, incident is the event. We had been told that the Roman Empire declined. To deteriorate gradually, decline, to wear away or disintegrate, or that the Spanish Empire disintegrated, but no German ever really applied it to the German Empire, and no Briton to the British Empire. The very repetition of these truths will sound like the old interminable repetition of the truisms. Interminable is endless or seemingly endless because of monotony or tiresome length. Truisms are proverbs, an obvious truth, yet they are to me, at this moment, like amazing and startling discoveries. Amazing is astonishing, startling is be or cause to be surprised or frightened. A discovery is to reveal or make known, to find after a study or search, to learn about for the first time. For I have lived to see the dead proverbs come alive. This, like so many of the realizations of later life, realization is to become conscious or aware of something, is quite impossible to convey in words. Convey is to communicate to anybody who has not raised it in this way. It is like a difference of dimension or plane. Dimension is measurement of the size of something in a particular direction, such as the length, width, height, or diameter. Plane is a level surface, a flat surface in which a straight line joining any two of its points lies entirely on that surface, in which something which the young have long looked at, rather wearily. Wearily is tired or exhausted, causing fatigue. As a diagram has suddenly become a solid. A diagram is a sketch or plan demonstrating the form or workings of something. It is like a difference of dimension or plane in which something which the young have long looked at rather wearily as a diagram has suddenly become a solid. It is like the indescribable transition from the inorganic to the organic, indescribable beyond description. Transition is change or passage from one state or stage to another. Organic, of or relating or derived from living plants or animals. Of or relating to animal or plant constituents or products having a carbon basis. As if the stone snakes and birds of some ancient Egyptian inscription began to leap about like living things. Ancient is dating from very long ago. Inscriptions to make, carve, or engrave on a surface such as wood, stone, or paper. To leap is to jump suddenly from one place to another. It is like the indescribable transition from the inorganic to the organic, as if the stone snakes and birds of some ancient Egyptian inscription began to leap about like living things. The thing was a dead maxim when we were alive with youth. It becomes a living maxim when we are nearer to death. Even as we are dying, the whole world is coming to life.